Welcome back to Prime Time. As diplomatic efforts focus on ending the fighting, attention is shifting to what follows a ceasefire. Now, post-war environments often attract extremist networks, criminal actors, and hybrid threats. And with foreign troops and new security guarantees on the table, questions now centre on how risks are identified, managed, and prevented from undermining any fragile peace during the uncertain transition period ahead. Joining me now to discuss this is Ajmal Sahel, a counter-terrorism and national security analyst in Berlin, Germany. And Mr. Sahel, thank you very much indeed for joining us. You've obviously studied this extensively, many cases over the years. From a counter-terrorism perspective then, is there a typical sequence that we see when a ceasefire sort of mutates into extremism and terrorism?
Thank you very much for having me. So historically, if you see like situation in the Middle East and back in Iraq or even in Afghanistan, when the war or the conflict was over, that turned to be a hotbed for hatching a lot of terrorist or extremist organizations to hatch. So if you compare a situation, as I said before, the Iraq, so after the conflict between the United States and also the Saddam regime, and after the conflict, you see that it made it possible for the birth of the Islamic State. So this environment creates a situation that a number of the organizations are trying to use the situation to engage in a new sort of a conflict. Actually, the post-conflict environment is actually the situation where the fighters from the both sides they start to disengage, but it is hard to monitor when there is not a specific monitor that what they are doing it. Then it provides a situation that there would be a lot of grievance within the society to provide security or to provide social services. Or there are a lot of things that the governments, even the strong governments, they leave some blind spots, and these blind spots on these grievance is an environment actually for the extremist organizations to use them and materialize for their narrative. And this is the situation. I don't say that that would happen to Ukraine as well, or I don't want to say that the Ukraine state would be a failed one, but even the established states, they leave some blind spots, and these blind spots could be used by the extremist organizations.
And typically, what do we see? Is the greater percentage of activity simply just opportunism that emerges, or are there militant groups now looking at conflicts like this, perceiving that a ceasefire may happen, and properly, strategically planning how they might exploit the situation?
What I would like to tell us that we have, for example, two types of the extremist organizations. One are ideological and the other are tactical. So these tactical, my fear is for the tactical, terrorist or extremist organizations, because these tactical extremist organizations would be used as a statecraft. Like countries that they want to fail the ceasefire, they want to fail the post-conflict situation. They're going to try to use as a part of their narrative to exploit the situation and use these as a part of their statecraft. it happened. We saw them in Syria, we saw them in Iraq, even in some African countries. Some of the specific countries, so I don't want to mention the specific names of that, but they used the this the asymmetric system because in the conflict during the conflict we have symmetric system or we have conventional war system. When the conflict is over, then these states they're trying to use the asymmetric system so that there should be a plausible deniability. What happens, for example, we have on one side we have the United States, then we have Europe, and then of course Ukraine. And the other sides we have China, we have Iran, and then Russia. In this environment, each side, or probably at the most the Russian, they will try how to use or how to exploit the extremist organizations as a statecraft. At the end, there would be a plausible deniability and their hands would be clean.
And how, in cases like that, I mean, I think for many people watching this, they'll be fascinated that we're almost moving into the realm of sort of movies with some of these, interactions. If a state actor wanted to deploy that strategy, what is the mechanism? What is the transaction? Is it a direct one? Do groups appear like companies, and are millions of dollars wired to the group in return for their activity, or is there some more covert exchange of value in order to pay them for what they're about to do?
There would be a number of them. As I said before, there would be international terrorist organizations are interested in conflict. One of the research has shown that when the conflict in one country is over, they are moving to another country, and they're looking for conflict. And the situation will provide also the opportunity for some of the criminals that they would like when there is disengagement and there are plenty of military grade weaponry left or not monitored, and this will provide a situation so they will smuggle these weaponries to sell them in a black market, or even bring them to Europe, and then it may be a situation to provide a situation provide a conflict or organized criminality, to promote organized criminality even in European countries. We will see the situation that is coming if there wouldn't be a real monitoring opportunity in the country. And of course, as I said, the other part is like the countries that they are using as a statecraft. And of course, that would be cheaper. That would if there would be like a symmetric warfare. So the state needs to mobilize a lot of troops and a lot of engagement. So when they are turning to the asymmetric, the less money would be used, and the greater job would be done through the organizations, to the criminal groups, or to the tactical extremist organizations. They are doing their jobs on behalf of the specific country, and down the road there would be a plausible deniability.
So a very real value chain then, in a sense, just like we get in business. There'll be a government, possibly an intelligence agency, possibly another intermediary, and then a terrorist organization. So it really, in a sense, it does work like we see in the movies.
Yeah, actually, the issue is if still, as we are now discussing, that the British would be in Ukraine, and also the French would be in Ukraine. Their presence would be more like a force of deterrence. They will not provide the specific stability. They will not turn the country to a stable situation. In this environment, and also if there would be like opportunity for intelligence sharing, there are a bunch of the data. But the important thing is the real-time intelligence sharing. The experience has shown back in Afghanistan or Iraq. So in Afghanistan, there were Americans, Canadians, or British or French. They were operating under the umbrella of NATO, but in a real time they were unable, or they didn't want really to share the real time intelligence, and this gap made it for the terrorist organizations to operate widely, and then at the end they depleted the international community on the top of the US to leave the country. This situation may or may not happen in Ukraine as well.
If we look ahead at the possible future scenarios, obviously we can't know for sure what's going to happen, but we can see some possible key points. The troops, the European troops, putting their boots on the ground in Ukraine, potentially Moscow refusing to let that happen. When you look at these future scenarios that may occur over the next 12, 24 months, where do you think the biggest vulnerabilities lie? Where are those trigger points that we need to be especially vigilant around?
So, I mean, the Russian fear is, however, they tried for the past couple of years to stop entering Ukraine, be part of the NATO. That was the main objectives of the Russians to stop the Ukraine to be part of the NATO. But presence of the French and British is a sort of, as I said before, is a sort of a deterrence. So the Russians now may think or reconsider their presence will not make it possible for Russia to engage in full-scale war as we have it today. And there wouldn't be a possibility for a conventional war because the two NATO member states are there. However, they will not be engaged in a how can I say, in a battle zone against the Russian. But still, their presence is a sort of like assurance for the Ukraine that any attacks, anything could happen. It means it will trigger the NATO, and then immediately there would be like Article 5 of the NATO would be in practice. So the Russians will avoid in a conflict, a conventional conflict, and then they turn to the asymmetric, the hybrid conflict, which down the road that they will benefit from that. So the future, as I said, the most possible scenario for the future of Ukraine would be, of course, that is a ceasefire, that would be like a situation in transition, but this transition will also make possible for international terrorist organizations and also extremist organizations, also the countries, they would like to use the terrorist organization as a statecraft to promote their narrative.
And finally, Mr. Sahel, in terms of the type of terrorism, the risk of different types of terrorism, what do you think is the biggest risk? Is it a lone actor? Is it insurgency? Or is it some kind of hybrid threat along the lines of what you've described?
For insurgency, that the terrorist organizations, they don't have a specific, how can I say, territory, to be honest. So if you look back to the Al Qaeda or any terrorist organization, they don't have a specific territory to operate. So for insurgency, when you start an insurgency, you need to have a specific territory. So I don't think so that the future Ukraine would make it possible for an insurgent group to operate, because they need a territory, and then by providing a watchdog from the European community and also the United States that will not be possible. But the only thing that may happen is the terrorists, they operating totally secretly, and also, as you said, the self-recruited, and also this the one man or a lone wolf. That is more to happen. As I said, most of the states, when they are depleted and they are fatigued with the conflict for years, and then they leave a lot of blind spots, and these blind spots would be used by these terrorist organizations to target soft military targets, or maybe beside that, some of the areas which are belonging to the public, like there would be electricity grid, or any soft and possible area which make it for the terrorist organizations, or the self-recruited, or for the lone wolf to attack.
Mr. Zahel, we thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us and for joining us from Berlin. Thank you.
You're welcome.
After the break, we'll take a look at the top business news stories of the day with Andy Mioch.